Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Oi, oi, oi is right. This is a Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. This is presented by, Full Tilt Dynasty podcast presenting the Fantasy Walkabout. Oh my goodness.
Damn right.
We're here. I am your host with the most time in his hands. I'm Tom Simple FF, and to my right is my mate from around the world. It's Tom_Lee92, surviving in Australia, as I can see.
That's it, man. Surviving that savage outback.
Yeah. The savagery in the outback.
Yeah, in my white-walled apartment.
Yeah. Look, big week this week. This is the kickoff week. It's here.
It's here, man.
Us. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Look, I said that we would do the next giveaway this week. It turns out it takes a long time for things to get to Canada from Australia. So I don't have the box of goods right now. But they're on their way. So as soon as I get the box of goods, we're going to do the next giveaway. What Gibbs FF won the Antonio Gibson rookie card giveaway. We are going to do that again. What can I say? We appreciate everyone for stopping in. I appreciate everyone that was just joining me live with Chase Vernon on Join Our Circle or Fantasy Intervention. That was a really good time. We talked about the waiver wire show, who you should be picking up and putting down. You can definitely go and check that out over there on the tube of you right now. But for us, we like to kick off our shows in kind of a special way. Look, there's a lot of news outlets for fantasy football, and there's a lot of news outlets that wants you to listen to them and only them to get all of your news. Look, that's not us. Every week, we like to kick our shows off with a little thing called Do We Give a Shit? Do we care? And it's how we quickly run down the news with everybody and not hound on it for 20 minutes on the same stuff that we've already seen on our timeline.
Everywhere.
So, do we care? Do we give a shit? Mark Andrews signs a big contract. Justice Hill. I didn't write this. This is just Tom Lee giving me Ravens facts just out of the gate here. Mark Andrews signs a new 4-year contract. Boy, was I fucking wrong about that. Oh, my God. Justice Hill, he's blown his Achilles out because that just seems to be the thing to do in Baltimore right now.
That's it.
It's go out for the year. They signed Lev Bell. Super gross. Latavius Murray gets cut because he wouldn't take a pay cut. Big yikes. Myles Gaskin, the guy, we kind of knew that already. Tyrod Taylor confirmed starter. Yeah, we kind of knew that already. Players racing the clock. Saquon, Ayuk, Sony, Clyde, and Trey Lance. I don't really care about any of the stuff at the bottom there.
No.
It's going to be a long season for everyone's questionable.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check your teams before. Yeah.
Don't care about Lev Bell signing. I do care about Justice Hill. I think it's just that Gus Edwards is just a lock to get even more touches.
That's interesting because I think that's where do we care matters here, because if you believe that Gus Edwards is going to get more of the share, then we really don't care. If we believe that Lev Bell still has some juice left, then apparently people care. I'm with you. We don't care about this, but it's not like they had to sign someone, right? They're always going to have a third running back on the roster.
I'll say this. If Latavius Murray didn't wait till like 2 days before the season kicked off to get cut, I think he would have been in Baltimore, and then I would have been worried.
Yeah.
But I'm not worried about Le'Veon Bell. I think he's dog water. I think he's been dog water. I'm done. I think it's all Gus and Williams at this point.
I was going to say, are you worried about your Tyson Williams?
No, I think it's Lamar. It's Lamar Jackson throwing more, which means Lamar Jackson will run more because he scrambles. Yeah. He gets better yardage off his scrambles than his designed quarterback runs.
Yeah.
So that's where that's good. The Mark Andrews contract is big. 4 years,
it's
$56
massive.
million.
Yeah.
It's top 5 for tight ends. I was so wrong on this. I didn't think they'd bring him back at that money.
Yeah.
What the hell do I know? I just sit in this chair and talk into a microphone every couple of weeks. I took a guess, but oh my God. I mean, I didn't think here that on episode 13 of the Fantasy Walkabout, I'd be talking about Mark Andrews being one of the top paid tight ends. He's obviously good and he's young. He's a fantastic player for them. That's just a lot of money. It worries me when it comes to signing Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything about his rank for me, but it's nice to see at least a long-term investment in this guy as part of that offense, because we know it is so powerful, and he has the potential to be one of those weekly, not game changers, but weekly solid players in your lineup. So it's good to see.
Yeah, 100%. All right, and that just like that quick, that easy. That's our news for the day. I mean, that's how fast we get it up and out of the way.
So it
Nothing
matters.
should change. Don't overreact in Dynasty to what you're seeing right now. Don't overreact. Okay, chill, relax, make the smart moves, the smart plays, and you'll be okay. You're gonna get through it into week 1. We're gonna take a quick second. When we come back, we're gonna get into a few quick segments that we're gonna be doing now weekly on the show, and then we're gonna get into the big stuff like. The guys from What's the Spread are going to drop by. We got some other stuff going on. So sit tight. We're going to come back. And when we do, we're going to get into our next segment or two here. Okay, sit tight. Look, I was wrong. I said we'd be back in a second. We came back, and big new segment for us. Look, when you're going out for a nice stroll on the beach and you want that little extra spice to grab the attention of the people around you, give you that little bit of an extra punch. What do you reach for, Tom Lee?
You reach for your Budgie smugglers.
You reach for your Budgie smugglers. So our Budgie smuggler of the week.
So I'm excited about this, right? Like, this is a new segment we're going to be rolling out each week. And over here, if you're talking about the downstairs region, we're talking about packing a little extra heat, right? If you're going to wear Budgie smugglers down at the beach, you want to make sure that you're carrying your business in an effective manner. There's no cold weather here, so it's already an advantageous situation to be rolling the Budgie smugglers out. But this is a guy that we think we like already, but this guy's packing a little extra weaponry this week. And might be a good one to start in your starting positions, or to have a look at if you're doing weekly in redraft, maybe starting from your bench into your starting roster spot. Yeah.
Look, the player for us that has packing a little bit of heat is Jalen Hurts against the Falcons. The Falcons likely aren't going to be that good of a defense, but their offense is going to put up points. I know. I'm sorry, Tom Lee.
Sure.
There's a reason that the colors of this overlay are themed the way that they are. It's because our mate Tom Lee here is a massive Falcons fanatic.
Just to hide the blood.
Yeah. It's going to be a rough season, but it's going to be a great week for Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to be fantastic. I think he's an easy lock for QB1. I see no reason for him not to be. So he's our Budgie smuggler pick of the week. He's packing a little bit of extra heat with his Budgie smugglers this week. Next one that we're gonna roll out. Look, we got our Aussie Salute, our waivers. That's a good pun. I like that.
See, I like it. Yeah.
For everyone watching, why don't you give them a little demo of the Aussie wave here, the Aussie Salute for us?
So we introduced the Aussie Salute the other week, and it's essentially because there's so many bastard flies out here. The Aussie Salute is considered to be sort of waving the flies away. Waivers. You can put it together yourself. It's an IKEA bit.
We're super
a little
creative.
pun here. Yeah, it's our waiver segment
on the fantasy walkabout. Look, our waiver wire pickup. I just talked about this, as I mentioned, with Chase Vernon at Fantasy Intervention.
Yeah, if you want to know more, go check out that show. That was good.
Right. We're not going to touch on this too much because it's kind of an obvious one. Is the Baltimore Ravens backfield or the New Orleans Saints backfield? We'll just cut it that way. It's Tony Jones, who you should have had already. I know I tweeted about him when he carved up the Baltimore Ravens ones in the preseason. And then, of course, Lev Bell and Tyrell Williams. Lev Bell and Tyrell Williams in Detroit, wide receiver in Detroit. He's going to be the one there for now, even though that whole team is ass.
Yeah. This will ramp up as the season goes along, but right now it's just do your due diligence coming into week 1.
Look,
make sure if people have been slacking your leagues, just check the waiver wire. Don't do yourself a disservice by not checking it.
And this is the point in the season where your dynasty kind of becomes redraft, so you don't really got to worry as long as you're not dropping somebody of note like a Terrace Marshall, De'Ami Brown to pick these guys up. Yeah. Hopefully, you have deeper than 10 spots on your bench, right? Otherwise, you got to really adjust that league, right?
Yeah.
You don't want that. But these are guys that you can easily pick up for pretty much free. I mean, I think the most I've seen Lev Bell go for today was 15 fab, which is still way incredibly too much. But you can pick them up relatively cheap even for now. They're not highly rostered, so that's something to look for. So that's our Aussie Salute the week, and we're gonna salute our way all the way. Look, we've been doing this one for a while, and I've gotten DMs about it. People asking me how to handle these situations, and look. We don't like to be frustrated. Fantasy football is fun for us. That's what's important is it's being fun and you're with your mates and you're hanging out and you're having a good time and you're hyping and you're selling. But every once in a while, something happens that really shits us to tears. It just frustrates us to no end. And this week, what shits us to tears, this is something that my mate Tom Lee wanted to bring up. It's off-season hermits waking up. Explain this. It drives me nuts.
So this is it. So shits me to tears is really like, we're just bringing a little bit of voice to stuff that we're all experiencing out there, causing a bit of frustration, taking away from the fun that we like to enjoy with Dynasty, right? Or with fantasy football in general. But the off-season hermits, the guys who checked out after week 16 last year, literally week 17 this year, and they went, yep, I lost my season. See you guys next year. They haven't touched their roster. You'll see them start to drop players from their roster. All of a sudden, your timeline's filled up with a bunch of, a player you've never heard of has been dropped because week 16 last year, they could have been a chance. And all of a sudden, the messages and the trade offers start coming out because they're trying to fix their roster with 4 days to 3 days to go before the season starts. Even though we've all been here for the last at least a month, if you are really into Dynasty Fantasy, pushing, trying to get these rosters sorted, trying to add value as we always focus on with this show to our rosters. And it gets really annoying because they're all of a sudden frustrated because they've left themselves a short time to get this done in. If you are playing Dynasty, if this is your second year back, make sure you check in with the league and see how active it is before a month out, just to see, get a taste for it, see if there's people around, get yourself invested back in, get a feel for where the industry is at and what's happening. Because at the moment, it's too little too late, man. Like, our rosters are sorted. There's no moves to be made. We're happy.
Right. You're already behind. You're behind.
Yeah, and you're on tilt because you've left it to the last second.
You can't offer me Travis Etienne now, right? You can't try to send me. I mean, you could send me J.K. Dobbins. I'll probably take him off your hands, but it's not the same. You could have made that deal 2 months ago had you been paying attention. Tom Lee, you and I talked about early on in this process in the first handful of episodes about how important it was to constantly be checking in with your league mates. If you're playing Dynasty Fantasy Football and you're gone for 3 months of the year, you're so far behind because there's so much information happening all the time that gives you an edge. There are so many good shows and analysts and videos and
just
tools
content,
and websites that your league mates are already putting to good use. If you've waited till now, you're pretty much just handing somebody else your money for the year and saying, thanks for having me. It's the same thing. Oh, you noticed that your second quarterback was Cam Newton and now he's cut. What do I always say about acquiring a quarterback? You might as well staple a piece of paper on your forehead that says kick me if you're looking for a second quarterback in a Superflex league. Right now it's too late.
That's it.
So the hermits coming, the off-season hermits coming to life again definitely shits me.
And we said it at the time, but we want to reiterate it that it's you don't have to be in the chat every single day of every single moment, right? Not everyone are really diehard fans. Not everyone's going to have their own podcast, website. Not pointing fingers at friends of ours. But like this is it, right? You just want to be a little bit aware of what's going on, who's always in there, what moves are being made. It's your baby. You're paying money for this thing. So, most of the time you're paying money for it. So you want to have at least some investment to see how it's going and whether or not you're doing yourself a disservice by not being in there.
Yeah, 100%. That it's so accurate, and it does drive us nuts. Look, Matty B is here.
What's up, Matty B?
Yeah, Matty B's chilling. He's vibing with us. Look, every week we have our mates over there at What's the Spread. They do great Big Ten content. They go over every week who their lead pipe locks are for the week to earn you some money and make you some money. This week, I'll let the boys tell you, but it was a little shaky for one of the boys over there. What's the Spread? I mean, it was a kind of a crazy week in college football.
It was a crazy week. Yeah.
These guys are locked into the Big Ten. They've sent us their just under 2-minute drill. We're going to run that. These guys are going to be huge for us when we talk about college scouting. They got their ears to they got their ear to the pulse, boots to the ground, however you want to say it. So we're going to go to What's the Spread. And when we come back, we're going to get to the heart of the episode, which is Back to the Future. Where are players right now and where do we see them being at this time next year? So we're going to go to What's the Spread. We're going to come right back.
This is What's the Spread. This is a 2-minute drill powered by Full Tilt Dynasty. I'm Dan Starr. Joining me, we got Andy Starr. We're going to quick run down last week's bonus pick of the week. So last week, I gave you South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits. They not only covered the 2.5 points, they blew out the Colorado State Rams. I said, don't be surprised if they win by 10. They won by 19, led by their quarterback, Chris Olodokun. And then, like I said, look out for those Yankee brothers at receiver. Jaden Yankee went for 6 catches and 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. Andy, how about your bonus pick?
Yeah, tough week for Clemson. I told you guys to pick them -3. Obviously, we all saw what happened with that game against Georgia. It's kind of a sloppy offensive game. Georgia's defensive line really put the pressure on first-year starter DJ Uiagalelei. And I feel like they really didn't have any playmakers receiving the ball or running the ball, which they had plenty of last year. So, like I said, this is kind of a playoff game for Clemson. They're going to have to really rely on somebody else to lose to make it to that college football playoff. But unfortunate loss for them, and unfortunate loss for me and anyone else that bet Clemson.
Love it. So stay tuned, everybody. This Friday, we're going to be going over the Big Ten slate. We got 14 games to run down, 40 on Full Tilt Dynasty. We're going to give you the 2-minute drill just like always. But this week is special. We're going to give you our lead pipe lock of the week. So just remember, this is What's the Spread?
Look, man, that's pivotal information if you're trying to gamble on your Big Ten. I mean, I feel so bad for Andy.
How
He
happy?
picked Clemson.
Dan's throwing him under the bus straight away.
Yeah.
He's on, I nailed it. How did you go, mate? Straight to it.
Exactly. Hey, I did really awesome. Yo, what up? What up?
What up?
What up, Steven? Look, hey, I did really great with my pick. I picked the Jackrabbits. Not only did they win by more than what I said, but I'm awesome.
Yeah.
How about that Clemson pick, Andy? Fuck you, buddy. Yeah, super funny. I loved it. I love those guys. They have great information. I've already learned more about Big Ten football than I had known, and I just started listening to them this year. Great guys.
It's
Go check
important,
them out.
man. Yeah, it's going to become more important as we go along.
Exactly.
Probably won't go all the way into the Debbie space, but it's really interesting to know what's going on. And like that, we were talking about that Clemson game. Man, like props on pronouncing DJU's name because I'm not going to give it a go. But they looked bad. Like Georgia was good, but that was an awful start to the season. So that's going to be one to watch. Yeah.
Right. And What's the Spread is going to give you the ability to listen in and win some money. 50-50 so far.
That's it.
We're keeping track. And look, like I said, they're going to come on for our scouting phase, our off-season phase, to talk Big Ten players and football. Again, go see What's the Spread on your Spotify's, wherever you can get your podcast. Go sub. Go ask them some questions. They'd love to chit-chat with you. You can find Dan Starr on the Bird app and A Star on the Bird app. Look, so much info to cut through. We're only 20 minutes in.
We're doing well.
We've come through a lot, but look, it's the meat of the order now. Okay, we're getting into the big time. We're going to call this the hard yakka, the weekly hard work or process-driven exercise to better our dynasty team. The hard yakka. Did I say that right?
That's it. Hard yakka.
Hard yakka. All right.
Just means hard work.
Exactly.
The whole idea of this.
All
this
of you
game,
to use all of these Aussie slangs in your weekly vocabulary. I've started to do it and has done nothing but brightened up my life with joy.
Bring some joy. Some
just
Aussie
because
joy.
of the confusion on other people's faces. I even used Harold Holting
brilliant
today at work. I said I was gonna Holt, and they had no idea what I was talking about, and I just left for 20 minutes. It was fantastic. On my lunch break, it was awesome. Look, so we're gonna do Back to the Future this week. Where are these players at right now, and where will they be at this time next year? Week 1 next year, where are they gonna be? We're gonna start it off with rookies. We're gonna each pick a rookie, and we're going to get into where we think they're gonna be. Okay, yeah. Pretty simple. We're going to start with everyone's favorite quarterback right now. It's McCorkle Jones, the Mac Daddy, the Mac Cork, the Big Daddy over there in New England. Now that Cam's gone, DLF had his ADP at 70.25, QB 25, his sleeper 103.2, Insanity quarterback 25.
Isn't it interesting the difference between the overall ADP and yet he's still quarterback 25?
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Different formats.
That's very sus. I think Matt made it up. Look, Matt says, I love some Mac Jones. I've been on record as saying that that he doesn't have the high upside, but he's filling that quarterback two spot with his floor.
Yeah,
that's
Matty likes a safe quarterback too. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get our statistician Matty B to have a little bit of what's the general vibe out there? What are the people saying? And then we can give our opinion off the back of it. And Mac Jones being at quarterback 25, right now. The key is, where is he right now, 25? Where's he going to be in a year's time? Do we think he's still going to be the same, or do we think he is going to be on the rise?
See, I think he's going to move up. I think he's going to move up because guys like Kirk Cousins will continue to slide down, and Big Ben and et cetera, et cetera. I think guys are going to continue to slide down, and I don't think Mac Jones is bad by any means. I think that he's one of those players that's going to go. If I had to lock in and say where he's going to be, I'm going to guess that he hits like QB 22. This time next year,
a little
Mac
shift.
Jones will move into the quarterback 2 range. He could absolutely ball out, but I mean, you're even seeing, with Joe Burrow slipping ADP right now, and Joe Burrow balled out. So it's going to have to be something pretty substantial, or guys like Jalen Hurts are really going to have to suck bad for someone like Mac Jones to move up. But this time next year, I don't really like the 2022 rookie class for quarterbacks as it stands right now. I think Mac Jones can move up into that top 20, 22. I'm going to keep him at 22.
I think that's it. So the other reason we dive into an exercise like this is because it's so easy for people to say, young rookie quarterback, he's going to go up in price, or he's going to go up in rankings or value. But where are they going to go to, right? Like you said, you think he's going to improve 25 to 22. That's not a substantial shift, right? It's not really going to change his value. He's currently, what most people are hoping for is, like Matt said, a decent floor as a QB2. Is he ever going to be more than that, or is he always going to sit around that space? So we like to play the game of, who would you trade for? Who can we expect to move out the way? If there's currently 24 quarterbacks in the way, which ones of these have to move out of the way for him to move up, right? And like you said, Jalen Hurts at QB 16 would have to have a pretty poor season, probably to be off the roster at the Eagles to see someone else move up. But then you've got Deshaun Watson, Mayfield, Stafford, and Cousins all in the way, as those established older vet QBs who would then have to slide out of the way to make room for someone like Mac Jones. And other than Cousins, I don't know who's going to move out of the way unless Brady retires. Like you can try to narrative your way in there. But Deshaun Watson right now, worst case scenario is a year out of the competition. He goes straight back up above. Yeah. A lot of these rookies, I don't see them losing unless they get injured or something terrible happens. They're not falling out. Mayfield possibly. Matt Ryan could retire. Daniel Jones is currently in the way, but it's all pretty similar. You could argue any of those guys would have the same sort of floor that Mac Jones could provide. So that's the issue for me. Is I agree with you. I think he'll move up, but where to? What's got to happen for him to actually move?
It's not going to be much. It can't be much. Yeah. He's just a guy that's going to be very meh until he proves he's not, right?
Which is fine, right? We don't mind that as a QB2, but I think that's the issue. Is it's exciting, but where's it going to get to?
I think he's already outdoing his rookie draft ADP. So I mean, he's already kind of moving up, right? But I mean, how much farther can he move up without producing? Very true statement. Look, the rookie that I decided to pick, if you watched the show last week or listened to the show last week, I had a little impromptu rant about this because it drives me nuts. We're going to talk about Kyle Pitts some more. Look, now he's the second or the third tight end off the board. Where do I think he's going to go next year? Fucking nowhere. Nowhere. I don't think there's any way he dethrones Travis Kelce again. I think Travis Kelce I think people are still going to be all on Kelce until he falls off because he's just the darling
he's the
at
guy.
The position. Yeah, I don't think but I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Kyle Pitts overtakes Waller and Kittle easily across the board, steadily, as the second tight end off the board. He could push for number 1. Now, why is this important, Tom? Why are you sitting here talking about Kyle Pitts, Tom, if he's not going to go anywhere, Tom? This is why. It doesn't matter what kind of season Kyle Pitts has. The Kyle Pitts fan base is going to narrative street their way into keeping him where he is. Well, he was a tight end. He had to adjust. Matt Ryan was terrible. New offense. No one knew what they were doing. They had no run game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He only puts up 585 yards and 5. Now, for most tight ends, you think that's a colossal failure. For Kyle Pitts, it's not going to freaking matter.
Yeah.
People are just going to be excited that he had 500 yards as a tight end. Oh, he'll get even more next year when he breaks out. Or he goes for 985 yards and 8 touchdowns, and then, people want to vault him into the wide receiver 1 or the tight end. Wow, geez, wide receiver, exactly. The tight end 1 consideration even more. And then we have him. I know Jacob and I, for Full Tilt, we have him as the dynasty tight end 1 already.
Yeah.
And you can add us about it. We won't care. We'll talk to you about it. We'll hang out. It'll be a good time. But if he does go for that 900 plus, if he does get those 125 plus targets, oh my goodness, the roof is going to explode with him. His value is not going to go anywhere no matter what he does. He is the safest prospect. He's the safest rookie for value because Najee Harris could fuck up this season and he's going to drop. Javonte Williams could fuck up this season. He's going to drop. Insert any of the rookie wide receivers. If they screw up, they're going to drop. I don't think Kyle Pitts can go anywhere. If he gets hurt, well, everyone's going to chalk up his rookie season to him being hurt, right? He's going to stay where he is, and that's important. So when we look back at this time next year, you're going to see Kyle Pitts as the tight end 2 or like 2, hard 2, possibly 3. I think he'll be closer to the tight end 1 in ADP than he will be the tight end 3 in ADP, and you can lock that in literally no matter what happens. And he could be the only player that could have that happen.
So sneak preview of, and they haven't released, or DLF hasn't released their September ADP yet, but the sliding shifting scale is already pushing towards him being the number 1. And we know coming into the season, everyone loves rookies, right? So it was always going to happen. He was always going to get pushed high. But I'm kind of with you. I don't know where he can fall to. I mean, if you look at the names behind him, Kittle, like you said, Kittle loves blocking too much for me to be able to take over an asset like Kyle Pitts. Waller, he's getting older. And that offense won't be as good or as focused on him as Kyle Pitts will. Hawkinson's possibly the one, but Detroit's worse than Atlanta, arguably, right now. So, with the volume and with the talent, he could possibly outproduce him from a fantasy point of view and enter that conversation, but not really. You're not going to get him for less than that price. That's the biggest issue for me.
You can't trade for him. You can't trade for him.
We talked about the value before of Mac Jones. Yes, you could go out and buy him as an investment piece, but for me, there's not really anywhere to go. He'd have to break records. The issue for me with Pitts as well is you can't also invest in this piece. You either need to buy him as the tight end 1 and hope that comes off, or you can't get it. The question for me is, can you sell him? Is it worth selling him? And when is it worth selling him to you, Tom?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, John, Dynasty Coach A over there at the Monocle Dynasty podcast, he and I got into a discussion about how Kyle Pitts, you sell him now because his value can't go up. Well, according to the ADP, his value can go up. The perception of him can go up. Look at those big deals you were getting for Travis Kelce. And I know Corey Spalla put out a great article today about how paying extra for your tight ends because it's a premium is a fallacy. I agree. But the fact is that players out there are going to do it because not enough of them are going to go and read Spalla's article like they should be and agree with him, because I feel the same way. I do not pay that premium price for anything, let alone a position, just because it's the premium. That's not me, but there are players out there. So if Kyle Pitts does go out there and absolutely ball out, then you're going to get him for that Travis Kelce money, which is what's going to be so sweet.
But
or you just hold on to him because he's good.
Right?
Yeah. But he's also a player that if he does have a semi-disappointing rookie year, you're still going to be able to sell him for his current price.
That's it.
He's that kind of player. It's unbelievable.
Even if he was to get injured this year, the talent doesn't go anywhere. The draft capital doesn't go anywhere. So I think that's the thing, is like he's in this weird spot of he's being taken so highly that you can't afford him, but because he hasn't done anything yet, you can't sell him. So for us, there is no value to Kyle Pitts. You either take him hoping he's going to be the guy, or his value goes up, or there's nothing to him. So it's for such a polarizing asset, he's going to see, for me, one of the least amount of movability as an asset from rosters, because you either have him or you can't get him. So it's a really interesting one.
Or the person doesn't want to let him walk, because why would you?
Yeah.
Right? Like that. We were talking about a player, a tight end, who would have been in contention for the number 1 overall pick in tight end premium superflex rookie drafts. Not the quarterbacks, Kyle Pitts.
The quarterbacks,
right? So you can't move him right now. And he's, again, the only player that is free of worry or concern of him having a bad year and him losing value. It won't happen. Yeah. So that's why I say when we look back to the future, we're going to see this same time next year, Kyle Pitts' value is going to be exactly where it is, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
is the weirdest spot in.
It's strange. It's a unicorn
Even Devontae
spot.
Adams has moved. Tyreek Hill has moved. Diggs has moved this offseason. DK Metcalf was the wide receiver one for like 8 weeks last year, and then he was all of a sudden like out of the top 10. It was super weird because that's how the community works. But the thing that's rang true is Kyle Pitts this offseason. It's been really strange. Look, we're going to talk sophomores because I can talk Kyle Pitts all day, literally all day. We're going to talk sophomores, and you want to talk about CeeDee Lamb. Why was that?
I do. So CeeDee Lamb is one of those guys that if you have conversations in your league, this guy can be anywhere from the wide receiver 1 to a wide receiver 1, right? It's pretty universal that most people have moved him up at least inside the top 12. I haven't seen anyone with a take outside of that. But his current ADP at 36 and 36 at DLF and Sleeper, wide receiver 7, wide receiver 9, right? Our boy in the stats department, Matty B, reckons he's set to smash. He's a massive Lamb fan. At least top 5 minimum is where he's headed, possibly to the overall wide receiver 1. Am I there on that? Wide receivers are one of those things that because they can produce for such a long period of time, their value is really difficult to change until they drop off completely. And we saw this a bit with Julio Jones, and we saw that it took an injury to really change perspectives in the dynasty space, where he slowly drifted down draft boards last year, and then eventually this offseason completely changed. Matt referenced someone like a Keenan Allen, enters his 29-year-old year, to me in the chats, and was just like, well, we start to see this value slide. The younger guys coming up. Will he go up from wide receiver 7 or 9 this year? It's a pretty busy offense to be in. Yes, it'll be high production, but you're going to have Cooper, who for me is going to produce very similar to Lamb this year. Gallup could be not far behind, depending on what happens with him as well. He's not the guy in the offense, and it's really hard to say that this is a wide receiver or the wide receiver 1 when you aren't necessarily established as the guy yet. Yeah. Like, I can see it, but will it happen? I don't know. I would expect to see him around about the same mark. Wide receiver 5, a couple of the older guys who are currently hanging in there. We can look at the current ADP for wide receiver, and we're looking at some older guys in there. So like you said, Metcalf's sliding out a little bit. Diggs is around the mark. Adams is there. Hopkins is around the mark. Hopkins and Adams can both slide back, especially if Rodgers leaves Green Bay. But apart from that, I don't see anyone else jumping him, nor him sliding back past anyone else. So it's going to be very similar for me.
Yeah, the dynasty community is fickle with wide receivers. They're very weird in how they react and overreact to wide receiver value. CeeDee Lamb's path to being the number 1 is a difficult one, with, again, Amari Cooper and Gallup and Zeke getting an just unbelievably bad coaching decisions amount of touches. He's going to need to be that 12, 14 touchdown guy to be there. I don't see it with that right now.
Yep.
It's tough. I think his ADP is probably going to be the same. I think you're right, 9 to 10, but I actually think it could drop out of the top 12 if guys like Chase, Smith all ball out. T. Higgins balls out. I think they could all leap him as actual ones. I can't really be as objective with this as I am team Amari Cooper. So I can't be as objective. I think CeeDee Lamb is a good talent.
Yeah.
But I think that if you're going to talk about CeeDee Lamb in that mark and not talk about Jerry Jeudy when their rookie seasons were more identical than people thought. I think if you really break down how hard it is to be that top 5 wide receiver, do I think he's going to be better than A-Rob? No, I don't.
Yeah.
It's tough as a wide receiver. I think it's harder as a wide receiver to get there than it is as a running back.
Yeah,
right.
Because everyone wants to talk about the running back 1 is quite easy to identify, right? There's currently a guy in this league that is putting up more than 30 points a game when healthy. That doesn't happen, right? That is your running back 1. Could Jonathan Taylor overtake? Could a couple of these younger guys become better? Sure. But right now, if you're in redraft, there's no one else vying for that spot for me if he's healthy, right? Because he's doing everything and the team has full buy-in to him, and that's a rare combination. Wide receivers don't have that. You see a lot of Devontae Adams this year. Anyway. Yeah, like Davante Adams this year, because Rodgers' relationship with him is just insane. You know what you're getting. There's a bit of that with Stephon Diggs, there's a bit of that with Tyreek Hill. But these guys at Jefferson, Metcalf, A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, even Calvin Ridley to an extent, they're there and they're sexy prospects, but you're not buying them. Like, from a value point of view, like you said, the value sits with the Judys, the value sits with the Keenan Allens I mentioned before, the A-Robs you just mentioned. These are the guys that are getting pushed out that are matching production that still have years left, but don't have that sexy tag attached to it. So is the price tag on Lamb going to go up? No. Well, am I going to hold them because realistically my range of outcomes is more likely to go down or stay the
you're
same?
not going to sell. You're not going to sell for less, right?
So that's
You're
the
not gonna
question
buy
is-
for more.
The question for me is, do you sell someone like a CeeDee Lamb? Because everyone is buying in right now that this is the guy, right? Which he could be. That's fine. But do you lose out by selling now? That for me is
I think so.
interesting.
I think
Yeah.
so, and I think that when we look at next year at this time, I think you're going to be happier holding on to him than
Okay, yep.
shipping him off.
Yeah.
Right. Especially there's the out to the contract. So I think if I had to look at next year, I actually think he drops 2 to 3 spots. I'm probably going to end up having him at wide receiver 10, where he's
Okay.
the wide receiver 7 to 9 right now. So this time next year, CeeDee Lamb will fall at least a little bit in his ADP. Look, for my second year player, I like to keep it pretty straightforward. I think the best value and someone I want to talk about is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He was overdrafted last year as a rookie because landing spots mattered more than talent last year for a lot of people, myself included. Yeah, we were big Clyde drafters last year, very high. But look, right now he's outside of the top 12 in ADP. And look, we don't like to talk about ADP a lot on the show. We like to talk about established leagues. Clyde is probably your most accessible second-year back that's healthy. Right?
Jeez, that list got shorter, didn't it?
I know. But he's one of the more accessible younger running backs. You're obviously still going to have to pay up because it's a running back and we're at season time.
Yeah.
You always overpay for running backs no matter what. But this is a guy who still balled out last year. He did. He balled out. He didn't lose a bunch of touches unless it was games where he ended up hurt in. They had a piss poor offensive line the whole year. And Patrick Mahomes still carried that team on his back with Kelsey and Hill. Look, he's a good receiver. We know that. He's a good inside runner. Look at his first week and multiple weeks last year. They got a revamped offensive line. The offense is still going to be great. This is a guy that had, I think it was 5 touchdowns called back last year. It was just insane. He was in the end zone and they walked it out. He scores those 5. We're not even thinking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire as RB13. He's vaulting so many of those older players, or even some of these young guys now, like Najee. It wouldn't even be a close competition if he just gets those touchdowns, and they don't just constantly bear hug the player they're up against.
Yeah, like
this time
it was an offensive line that was heavily affected. Like they lost pieces, they got injured. It was all sorts of stuff. So
and teams adapted and adjusted, and he was banged up. And it was just a weird year overall. I think you can see Clyde jump into the top 8 next year in ADP at this time, because there are guys that are going to fall, like Dalvin Cook, especially if he gets hurt. Derrick Henry, who should already not be in the top 12. God. But anyway, I digress. Right?
Derrick Henry is currently the RB7 in August.
Yeah, that's absolutely disgusting. And then you're going to have guys, we don't know how good Saquon's going to be. Maybe he dips. Right? Maybe if he does have a bad year, he could dip. Where if Clyde does just hit that touchdown, that positive touchdown regression, right? You could easily see him vault inside that top 8, in which case his value is going to be more than his true value, in which case I would be shipping him out. But this time next year, I expect Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be inside the top 10, and he could be peaking into the top 8. How about yourself?
So I like that, right? So you're talking about and we want to watch for what's the ceiling on these guys. Where can they move to? And you mentioned a few names, right? So I already have him over guys like Derrick Henry. That's fine. We can take him out. We mentioned Dalvin Cook, 26 right now, currently the guy, 2 years into a 4-year deal, establishes the RB2. Can he fall far enough for Clyde to replace him? I'm not sure, right? So as much as I convinced myself in the narrative, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns called back. He was a bit banged up. I didn't like Clyde coming out, and as soon as I drafted him, I felt awkward because he was my 5th best in the class prospect, right? And the only reason he was there is because we didn't see Antonio Gibson be a running back in college. Yeah. So guys like Antonio Gibson have jumped him for me. The question for me with running backs is, does talent equal production points, right? Or does opportunity, like what makes them an insured value at that position? Nick Chubb, super talented. Matty B in the chat. You look at what's the same? So Gibson, super talented, super explosive. Jonathan Taylor, super explosive. Nick Chubb, explosive and talented. Saquon, all these guys are more talented running backs than Clyde for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can Clyde and the production of that Kansas City offense be enough to vault him as an asset above, in the same way as like maybe like an Austin Eckler right this year has been pushed up into that? That's the comparison for me, is Austin Eckler has been pushed up into that class. Aaron Jones has been pushed up in that class. I don't think those two are on the same levels as other guys as running backs. I struggle with that. Do I think he'll be a top 12 running back? Yes. Do I think he'll be top 8 to 6? Not next year for me.
Oh, didn't say 6. I said
8,
8, right?
But
so
like
you gotta
this,
think
with
about it. I think
with
Aaron
the age
Jones,
argument,
Elliott,
you're right. Those guys
Chubb,
aging out. Yeah.
those guys can all fall this year, where a guy who gets the receiving upside is going to get the bump.
Yeah.
All he needs to do, if he catches 50 passes this year and scores 8 to 10 touchdowns, people are going to lose their shit, because that's what they wanted to see out of him, and that's what they were going to get. But then again, he gets hurt. The offensive line goes down. He has touchdowns called back. Everything worked against him, and he still finished as a very good fantasy option as a rookie and a running back. We're not talking about a guy who drops out of someone like J.J. Zachary's model of, draft picks or rookies that don't produce as rookies and moving forward. We're talking about a guy who did produce, who had things go against him. He still stuck it out and was a very good player. You just probably overdrafted him, which is why you're a little down on him. His ADP was way down. Now it's climbed back up again. Yeah. It climbed back up again to where I think his true value is, which is what's important. But this time next year, I fully believe that Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be a top 10 dynasty drafted running back, and he could be looking into the top 8. I think he's on that wave.
Okay, see, I don't mind that, because you're right. Like, I agree with you that the older guys will definitely get pulled out. But for me, so right now in the top 12, the guys who will definitely get pulled out for me are going to be Henry and Zeke, as well as J.K. Dobbins. So it frees up 3 spots in there, right?
That would be
the
10,
other question.
Right?
The other question is Najee Harris. If he's outside for people, will he move above a CEH? I don't. If people have them even, I don't really argue that. That's fine. I don't really care. We haven't seen him do it. It's a volume argument. CEH and Najee, yes, I like Najee, but that's beside the point, right? But Javonte Williams, someone else who can come up and all of a sudden take over one of those spots. Gibson slides in ahead for me.
Profiler just announced that they have him as their RB11 right now.
So that's why I think I struggle with 8, but I could buy top 10 with you.
Top 10.
It's pretty close to the mark.
Top 10 looking at 8 is where I think he's.
I like that. I can settle with you on that. That's good.
So look, we're gonna talk now about some vets. We don't want to just have it all rookies again. Some of these are players that you should have had on your roster for a couple of years.
And might have
the league's been around and you just managed to acquire them. These are what we want to talk about, because these are what we think are important. And a player that we both love. This one's a big shout out to the co-host of the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. This is Big Billy FF's boy right here. No, we're not talking about Darnell Mooney, but we are talking about the other guy. For a Packers fan, he loves the Chicago Bears offense. It's super weird.
He's a Fields fan. He'd be a Mac fan.
It's super sus when it comes to fandom. We are going to talk about Allen Robinson, DLF's wide receiver 15, too low, and the sleeper ADP of wide receiver 12, also too low. I know you don't have him in that top 12 of dynasty wide receivers, but if I'm picking receiver, if I'm drafting this year, Allen Robinson's not too old. He hasn't fallen off. He's done it with poor quarterback play. Nagy's not going to be there forever. You're going to have 3 more years of elite production, in my opinion. I think that Allen Robinson finally should have the respect he deserves, and he should be locked into that top 12 dynasty receiving position.
Will he be next year?
Yes. Okay. I think he still does it next year, because he is still going to be a 1. He's going to be a 1. People are going to love Fields enough. Hopefully Nagy's gone. That'll also boost them down narrative street. The offense shouldn't look as dog water, but even if they do, no matter what, A-Rob's going to be a 1, and that's going to stick with people like it should. So this time next year, Allen Robinson had better be an ADP drafted top 12 freaking receiver. If we're taking CeeDee Lamb, who's probably finishing as a wide receiver 2 this year, more than likely finishing as a wide receiver 2 this year, ahead of someone like Allen Robinson, that is an ageist situation, and I am pouncing on that. as a dynasty manager.
Okay, good. This is why I wanted to bring A-Rob up, because A-Rob for me, I love him as a talent, right? I love him producing for my team. I have lots of shares of A-Rob, right? It's fantastic. Question marks and flags that I want to talk through with you. His contract ends this year and he becomes an unrestricted free agent next year.
Potentially.
Yeah, according to Over the Cap right now, owed $17 million this year, uncontracted for next year. But yeah, like this is potentially becomes an unrestricted free agent, could move. One, does he stay?
Yeah, I think he would.
Okay, yeah, I would want him to.
He's just getting quarterback stability. I think he stays.
So that's question one for me. Question two, does he maintain the same target volume with Fields and no Nagy if Nagy's replaced?
Yes.
Okay, good. Happy so far.
He's just a player you lock onto because alphas get locked onto. And Allen Robinson is the alpha.
Yeah. Okay, question 3. Allen Robinson turns 29 this year. Okay. Is that too old to be a top 12 dynasty wide receiver?
It's not for Hopkins. Why would it be for Allen Robinson?
So this is the point, right? And this is what I actually wanted to talk about, because I don't disagree with you that he couldn't be top 12. It's that will the bias towards these younger, exciting wide receivers keep him outside the top 12? Because right now, old guys inside the top 12, we have Hill, who's slowly getting older, but not really there yet. Davante Adams, DeAndre Hopkins are the only ones inside that top 12 over the age of 27. Those are the two that will definitely move out, and that frees up 2 spots from Robinson, who's 15 or 12, depending on where you're at, to move in.
Right.
Then you have guys behind him like Judy, like Higgins, the younger guys coming through this year, will the Devontae Smiths come on. So
it took Justin Jefferson setting a record that had never been broken before to breach that. It took DK Metcalf balling out in his second year to get vaulted that high, because he wasn't top 12 in Dynasty after his rookie season. Yeah. So, and I don't think CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy are DK Metcalfs.
Yeah.
So they're going to need that finish that I don't think they have this year. So when you have someone like Robinson who is going to do it, they are going. All it took for Allen Robinson last year was 2-minute drills, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to hyper target you." They're going to do it again.
Yeah.
But they're going to do it not just in the 2-minute drill. Please, I can't mentally, physically, emotionally.
Can't handle that.
My heart can't take them not doing that. But I don't see any scenario where he doesn't finish that high again. And when you go into it next year, there's still going to be those players that just want to win, right? And I don't think Chase and Devontae Smith. The only player I'm super worried about is T. Higgins, because as our other co-host FF_RTDB mentioned, T. Higgins is probably locked into 150 targets this year. So he's going to vault into and be a baller. But I'm going to have to go Allen Robinson for at least one more year. If Hopkins can hold on to it, if Adams can hold on to it, I don't see a reason why Allen Robinson can't hold on to it, especially if you believe that Justin Fields is the guy that we all think he is.
We all think he is, yeah.
There's no reason why Allen Robinson this time next year, when we step into the DeLorean, go down the street at 55 miles? I actually forget if it's 55 miles an hour or 88. I can't remember. But when we hop into the DeLorean and guess on what the velocity is going to be, we're going to go and we're going to look back, and Allen Robinson should still be that guy.
Okay. I am going to say that he just misses out again, because I think you're right. I think he produces to the point where he should be one, but I just don't think he can sneak in based on who else is around there and the way that this community seems to overvalue youth. Having said that, currently have an interesting trade offer of I can send Devontae Smith, and we know we don't talk about our leagues that much, but Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle.
Don't care about your league, Tom Lee.
Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith for Allen Robinson. A 2-for-1, a classic in Dynasty. This is a guy who could be a wide receiver 1. If he's a wide receiver 1, I think the value is
I'm
to
taking
take
that
it.
because I don't believe in Jalen Waddle as a Dynasty asset.
Yeah, well, these are both unproven assets. They could be nothing, right? So this is an interesting one for me right now.
Adding a second onto your side, on the Robinson side.
But that's sort of where it sits. Is Robinson is right at that, not age apex, but he's right at that age of like you can sell and get really good value right now, but if you hold, you're going to get production for those 2 years where you can win. So he's a really interesting one for me, who, like I said, just misses out, but I think is worth talking about because he's sort of not on people's minds as much as he should be.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think I like that we are a little bit apart, a little bit separated on that take. It'll be fun to revisit this next year as we stash this show sheet away. And lastly, our final player, we're right on time right now. And look, we're only going to end this one way, right? There's only one way that this could be. The
Started
player
with
that I
Mark
want to talk
Andrews.
about right now is Lamar Jackson. Lamar motherfucking MVP Jackson. Lamar, you all slept on him because you overdrafted him last year, Jackson. Lamar, his team got better. They signed his tight end, got him offensive line, and gave him weapons. Jackson. Mister, I won an MVP with the absolute worst dog shit position group any MVP has ever won it with before, Jackson. I have been a fantasy MVP since I stepped foot on the fucking field, Jackson, and you're letting him slip to the end of the first round because you want to take Ezekiel Elliott and Derrick Henry over him in drafts. Give your head a shake. I'm disappointed. His ADP has finally climbed back up to where it fucking should be. There was a time this offseason where I could grab Lamar Jackson in the second round in Superflex drafts while I'm watching Justin Herbert go ahead of him. Stop it. Stop it. I'm happy that you stopped it. I'm glad to see that it came back. And where do I think his ADP is going to be next year? Right where it is. I think QB4 is the right spot for him because there's always going to be people that doubt him. There are people that fucking love Kyler Murray, even though he's an inefficient passer, but they shit all over Lamar Jackson every week. It's unbelievable. Lamar Jackson is the week-winning upside quarterback every week. He's one of three guys that I think, even Patrick Mahomes, I don't think has this every week being the week one quarterback. I think he does it through points per game throughout the season. Yeah. Yes. He has the boom games, right? We saw it in Tampa Bay. I think it was last year where he lit it up. Yeah. But for the most part, I want the runners. I want those guys. And it's Lamar Jackson. It's Kyler Murray. It's even Josh Allen a little bit. But for me, Lamar Jackson is the value. You can trade back in drafts, right? Move back a pick or two and still grab Jackson. There's still people that are in love with Justin Herbert. It has to be Jackson. And I think the only place that his ADP can go up again, or only direction it can go up again, is up.
Yeah.
I think this time next year, he will be back to being the second quarterback off the board.
I actually agree with you. So
fucking right, you do, because you know you get fired.
Yeah. So the interesting thing for me this offseason has been to watch the rise of Murray and Allen, right? They've slotted themselves in at 2 and 3 consistently as the first 3 picks off the board all the time. So, I mean, Kyler Murray's ADP is 2, like right on the dot, 2. No 0.25s, no pick 2 off the board. Why? Like, that offense isn't better than Dak in, Dallas. That offense, what he's shown with his running ability is fantastic, but it wasn't as explosive as his ceiling games as even Josh Allen was or Lamar can be. Or Dak when he's healthy. Russell Wilson even has bigger ceiling games than that. So to see someone like Kyler sit in number 2, whilst I think he's an amazing player, for me, doesn't have the consistency and is more fragile behind that offensive line because it's a worse team.
Rush for 12 touchdowns, right?
Than Lamar. Like Lamar's floor is going to be better, and therefore in your QB1 with a huge floor and then also that great ceiling, I don't see why he can't be that guy. Like you said, weapons are slowly getting better, offensive line's better. Play calling, like there's less reliance on the running back this year because they don't have the talent there. Like this is, I'm not going to go out of your way to go and buy him, assuming there's going to be this, huge jump. It's if you want the guy for less than Patrick Mahomes prices, you go out and buy Lamar. Like that is just what you get. Or you flip, like you said, you flip Kyler or Allen down to Lamar and pick up a small complementary piece because that is just value adding to your team.
Yep.
I don't think I have any QBs worthwhile that could get me near Lamar, but if I did, it'd be a move worthwhile looking at because like if you're sitting on Mahomes and going this floor is going to get me through and win all the things, all the games this season, but you can do the same thing with a replacement player like Jackson. So I think the only direction for him will be up, barring a terrible situation, which we won't, knock on wood, see.
Yes.
But yeah, like, and even these younger guys, like we love these rookie quarterbacks, right? We look at like the Fields, the Trey Lances, all these guys. They're not going to have the same floor all the time that Lamar has because we've seen it. We know what it is, and especially when he gets his new contract, like we just know what he's going to be until he becomes not the athlete he is anymore. So, for the next 3 to 5 years, you have the QB 1 or 2, unless there's something crazy happening. Like that's just money. So,
yep,
yeah, he'll be.
Like
up
I said,
next
this
year.
time next year, the only place I can see his value going is up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Tyler for Lamar plus. Yeah, hopefully you can get that done.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can get that done. Look, that's going to do it for us today. We appreciate everybody. Much love. We're going to keep going throughout the year. We're going to keep bringing these bits to you. We're going to keep it tight. Look, you can keep it locked with the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. What are we bringing? We're bringing you Fantasy Walkabout to start your week. That's going to live stream on Tuesdays. It's going to go out Wednesdays. What else do we got? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to have the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast go live on Fridays, and we're going to release that in podcast on Saturdays. And oh my God, it doesn't stop there. No Free Squares is debuting this week. That's Jacob Sanderson, FF_RTDB. He's debuting his DFS show weekly, which will be out Saturdays as well. Lots of content to get you ready for the Sunday kickoff. Go and make yourself some money. Lots of stuff. Obviously, we're going to keep pumping out the content on the FullTiltDynasty.com website. We've got tons of different articles, different things. We have giveaways. We're going to have guests and competitions and just a lot of fun heading into the season. So we're very happy everyone can be here joining us. And look, there's new innovations all the time here. We got new stuff. We might even be having a makeover by the end of the week. You don't even know. We're going to keep bringing stuff to you. Yeah, they do. They're going to keep bringing new stuff to you guys all the time. We appreciate everyone. And as I always like to tell you that if you agree with everything we said on the show today, we got to let us know. If you disagree with what we said on the show, well, you definitely got to let us know. If you think there's a guest that you think would be great for us to have on the show, well, you let us know, and we are going to reach out to them and give it a try. We couldn't be here without you. From myself, Tom Stibble FF, from my mate, Tom_Lee92, from Patrick, the HR alpaca behind me, he's creeping into the shot. We want to say thank you. We want to say stay safe. And remember, not only that clear eyes, full hearts don't lose, but the best days are spent tilting. Don't forget it. Good night, everybody.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.